tell us how to turn these little ring boxes. All right, now it's your turn, Dan.
Okay, I don't know if anybody recalls, I know you're getting up in age, you can't remember what you did last month, let alone 6 months ago, but last fall I did a box demo. So I've revised it a bit, changed my technique a bit, going to show you some different hollowing techniques. And before I get started with that, I wanted to demonstrate some of the cutting terms that I'm going to be using. The first one is scraping. Before we talk about safety, whenever I'm at home, I always use my face shield or the air shield, Trend Air Shield Pro for dust protection also. But for here, the muffled sound a bit, and since these are fairly small pieces, I feel quite safe just to have safety glasses. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these tools, which is a scraper. And I'm going to do the first section as a scraper. And my purpose of this is a section of 2x4. It's certainly not ideal turning wood, but I just wanted to demonstrate that less than ideal turning wood, you can still get a nice smooth surface if you do a slicing cut. So first I'm going to show you what kind of cut I can get with this expensive scraper. You can see that's really a nice finish. Okay. The next cut I'm going to do is a peeling cut. And to do the peeling cut, I've got a skew here with a radius edge. I'm just going to be using the top portion here to do the peeling. And a peeling cut is similar to like peeling an apple. You put the tool on there and you raise the handle until you start getting cut, and then you push to maintain the peel. So I'm going to put the tool, all the turning I'm doing here is between 18 and 2,000 RPMs. So I bring it on, now raise the handle until I start getting a cut. So that's a peeling cut. And you can see we've still got a little bit of tear out there, but nothing like we had over here. And then the last piece, I'm going to do a slicing cut with the same tool, only going to be using the bottom third of the tool down here to produce a slicing cut. Okay, which one would you rather start sanding on? I'll pass this around. I think you can readily tell what's what. What I'll do is a lot of times demonstrators will put one piece over here and one piece here, and it gets back there and nobody knows which way it's going to go. I'll start over here, work our way back, come across, work it up, and then you can lay them over here on the table. Okay, we're done with the tailstock. Let's get it out of the way. Okay, I'm going to be, there's going to be some times here where I'm running the lathe in reverse, and to keep the chuck from spinning off, I got set screws in here. I'll tighten those down to keep the chuck from spinning off the lathe when I run it in reverse. Okay, and now I'm going to go through, and when I was doing that, the grain was running parallel with the bed of the lathe. Pretty much, I was cutting through the same layer of grain. I wasn't cutting across grain. So I could have went either direction. It wouldn't have mattered. I should have gotten the same quality of cut going either direction. But when you're dealing with a lidded box, you're cutting into end grain where the grain is mounted the same orientation, but I'm going in and I'm cutting out, hollowing out the dish in the cup, and I'm going to be cutting across the grain, and oftentimes cutting across the grain at an angle. And to get the cleanest cut, you need to be cutting what's referred to as uphill or with the grain. You see the grain patterns are in that way, so I need to be cutting from the center up. If I was to cut, if I tried to cut down this way, the fibers in there would be picking the fibers and it'd be tearing the fibers off instead of slicing them. But coming down this way, I'm cutting down, I'm shearing the fibers off. Well, this fiber is supported by this one and this one by this one. So the fibers have support, and I can get in and I can shear the fiber off instead of ripping it out. So that's the preferred direction of cut when you're doing end grain hollowing. So I've got some, the pine was crappy wood. I think this is Douglas fir, crappy turning wood, I should say, not crappy wood, crappy turning wood. It's either Douglas fir or western red cedar, and it's even crappier. But I wanted to show you using this wood to show even on that wood that's not meant to be turned at all, you can still get a smooth finish if you slice the fibers instead of cutting uphill or shearing or scraping them. So I'll pass those around as pieces that I did. I've just got some little blocks here that I will demonstrate the cuts on. Okay, you can probably switch to both cameras on the boom now. Okay, when I did the demonstration last fall, I did a combination of shearing and a scraping cut. But I'm just using a spindle gouge, and I'm going to show you what you would normally think of. You always hear you're supposed to ride the bevel. Well, I'm going to show you what happens when I cut downhill, or cut against the grain, not against uphill. When I cut against the grain, I wanted to show you what kind of cut you get. Now on this, you're not going to see the same cut because this is a little bit denser wood. I think it's probably maple, and you can get a reasonable cut on it even if you are cutting the wrong direction. But when you cut the right direction, you even get a better cut. So that didn't come out too bad. Like I say, it's pretty close grained wood. Now another thing I've got is I've got the bevel on my tool is rounded off down here. I don't have a flat bevel from the point of the tip down here to the heel. If I had a flat bevel all the way along there, when I came in there and started going around the corner, the purpose, you always hear you're supposed to have anchor, bevel, and cut. Well, people say you ride the bevel. Well, if you're really pressing and riding on the bevel and you got that long heel like that, that heel is going to be burnishing and putting marks on the wood. When you try to sand it, you're not going to get rid of those rings. You have to sand down deeper to get rid of those rings. So I grind the heel back to get rid of some of that problem. And the bevel is more just like on a hand chisel. You have the bevel down so you can help control the depth of cut. Well, that's what the bevel does on the turning tool, is help you control the depth of cut. So that's with a spindle gouge. Where'd my one block go?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. Which way did you went that way?
Over here. No, no.
It was supposed to go that way.
It's going that way.
Okay, that one. Okay, I'll get this one labeled as SG for spindle gouge, bevel rubbing from the rim into the center. And you can see where you really run into the problem is when you try, it's not too bad here because when you're cutting straight into the grain, like I say, it doesn't really matter which way, other than you're pointing the tool directly into the end grain and you're still going to get some torn fibers. But where you really run into the problem is when you start transitioning across there at an angle. You see, that's where you get a considerable amount of tear out when you're doing that transition. Okay, so next we'll do a the way I did it demonstration last fall was cutting from the center out. I'm going to use the same tool, and for that I'm going to bore in a little bit, and then I'm going to bore in, and then I'm going to tilt the tool, so I'm going to start pulling it out. So I'm cutting the fibers with the tool cocked, so I'm getting a shearing cut. Let me do a little bit more buzzer. So I've got the tool cocked a bit, so it's coming down at a shearing angle across that tip. So I am getting a bit of shearing. There's certainly no bevel rub on that. And then when I come out to get out here to the outside, if I just came out straight across and pulled it across, then I would convert into a straight scraping cut. So what I want to do to get the best cut is I'm going to come in like that, and then I'm going to rotate it around so I can stay pretty much on the tip and still have that shearing action. If I do get to where I've got a wall in there where I can't get down that far, I'm still going to lower the tool down a bit. If I was to cock the tool handle down like that, when I'm still got contact on the tip, that I could get a catch. But once I come around that corner and my point is no longer on there, and I'm cutting here on just to the left of the tip, now I can drop the handle down and get getting a shearing scraping cut on that edge there, whereas suppose it was like that, it'd be a straight scraping cut. And you see, there's no bevel support. You don't have the control to control the depth, so you end up with some rings in there. So what I did in the demo when I was doing it last fall, I was showing it where if you anchor the point here, anchor it there, and pivot it on that point to help control, to get rid of those rings, that it helps out a bit, but it's still without having the bevel to help you control the depth of the cut and control the smoothness of the cut, it's still going to be kind of rough. So here's with using that tool like that, and you can see I've even got more tear out going in what's the preferred direction, but since it is more of a scraping cut, I'm getting considerable amount of tear out. And I've got this one labeled SG for spindle gouge, shear scraping from center to the rim. Okay, and then the next one is our Easy Wood tool. I'm done with this one, get this out of the way. So this is going to be strictly a scraping cut. If you read the directions, I know everybody reads the directions on the tools as you get, right? Yeah. Well, this tool says you're supposed to hold it, so this is level. And I went to a Easy Wood demonstration one time, and the guy actually had a little level you put on there so you can make sure that you had your tool was level. So you want to be cutting on the center line. So I need to lower it down a little bit. There we're on the center, and my tool is level. And again, I'm going to go from the center to the out. And on this denser wood, the cut is not too bad, but if you look at a microscope, you're still going to see tear out in there because that's what a scraper does. It scrapes the wood instead of cutting it. Okay, so this is with the Easy Wood tools. was strictly a scraping cut. And you can see how much tear out there is in there on this. Again, this is not turner-friendly wood. But I wanted to demonstrate the kind of tear out you get. And this is EEW for Easy Wood scraper from center to rim. Okay, the next one is yeah, it's the same piece. This one is a special gouge. Ray Key is a turner from England. He does a lot of boxes. This started out as a regular 3/8 spindle gouge, and he's completely ground off. It's a Henry Taylor tool that I got from Craft Supply, but it was ground to Ray Key specifications. The left side of the left wing is completely ground away. There's no left wing on there at all, or I mean no right wing at all, and he gives us this flat shearing surface that he uses for. Instead of a skew, he uses up on the flat surface to give him to finish the outside of the box. And then the left wing is pretty much like a standard spindle gouge, with the exception of this. With spindle gouges are normally ground to 30 to 45 degree bevel angle, meaning the angle from here down across the bevel is about 30 or 45 degrees. Well, this one's cut at 50 degrees. And what that allows me to do is get in there and actually be on the bevel and come around and get a bevel riding cut coming out like that. I'm not getting on the bevel. I've got quite a few ridges there. Oh, that's better. You see on that gives us a much smoother surface because I am using the bevel support and I'm cutting from the center, going the proper direction. Here, I'll pass this around. You can look at the shape on that. And this is the finish I get. Still got a little bit of tear out there. I probably when I did the first time, I didn't maintain the bevel as I was coming around the corner. I wasn't swinging the handle around far enough to stay on the bevel. So there is a bit of tear out here, but the center is much smoother than what it was with the previous cuts. And this is labeled R Key spindle gouge, bevel rub from center to rim.
Question.
Yep.
On that cut you just did, since you extended so far out over beyond, my bench, my blade is up against the wall, so I can't get on the other side. But if you got it out like that in the middle,
yeah, you could have stood over there.
just stand over here
Right.
would give you more control, right?
And what I'm going to do, show you later on, is I'm going to turn the lathe reverse and have the same effect from here. But because the way that spindle gouge is cut, it's not bidirectional. You can only go the one direction with it.
Make two.
Well, you could do that, but there's a better tool. Okay, the next one is Richard Raffin's back hollowing. Okay, let's get a different piece here for that. And for that cut, I'm going to be using a spindle gouge. It does have about a 45 degree bevel on it. And what it does is it's a very fast method of removing wood. If you watch Richard Raffin's box video, he could rough hollow a box out quicker than what you can see what he's doing. He goes in there like that, and he's done. Well, so you can remove a lot of wood very quickly. But I take it a little bit slower, and I can get a very smooth cut by going slower and being more precise with the cut. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to start a hole, and then I'm going to go like that and widen the hole out. And with the other cuts I've done, where I've come in and actually came out to the maximum diameter, and then went a little bit deeper and came out, but with this, I have to go down to the desired depth, because when I can't ride the bevel here, well, what I'm using for the bevel is that ring of the hole that I'm making, is what I'm using for leverage as opposed to a bevel. So I'm going to come in here. And just boring down. Okay, we'll go that deep. So now I can, like, I'm going to see that's how deep I want to go. So this is my I'm on the tool rest, but this is my support out here to help control the depth of the smoothness of the cut, is this rim out here. But then when I come around and get it up here like this, I am using the bevel here because I don't have, I'm outside of the hole, so I do need the bevel support here, so I need to keep the tool rest. And once the hole starts getting larger, I have to raise the tool rest so I can still maintain the bevel support up here at the tip when I'm exiting out of the hole. So I'm just going to and that really gives a pretty smooth cut. However, I do have a few ripples in there because don't really have the bevel there to really help control the depth. And this is the cut that I got just off the tool, and you can see the tear out is not nearly as much. Do have a little tiny bit in there, but not nearly what we were seeing with the other cuts. And this is SG Spindle Gouge back hollowing. So then what you can do to help clean that up is using a shear scrape. And for a shear scrape, I'm going to use this tool here. This is the Robert Sorby chatter tool, and it's packaged two different ways. One is just the chatter tool with the chatter blades, and one is packaged with this cutter. So I'm going to use this cutter, and I've got the bevel on there at about 80 degrees. Got just a little bit of a burr on there. And I'm going to use that to go in. I'm going to hold it at a shearing angle like that, and I'm going to come around maintaining the cut. Again, if I held the shearing there, went over and came straight out, it would revert to a scraping cut down here on the walls. So I need to rotate the handle around like that to maintain a shearing cut. It's still blocking. You can see we're getting wisps, little wisps off, unlike what we was getting when we was doing the true scrape. So you can tell that's dramatically improved the surface and got rid of little ripples in there. So this is the started out with the I'll show the camera here. This started out with the Richard Raffin style back hollowing, and then I used the shear scraper to clean up and get rid of the little ripples in there. So you can see the surface is pretty good. And this is a spindle gouge back hollowing followed with shear scraper. Okay, the next tool we're going to use is this one-way termite tool. It's a ring cutter. I'll use that. Okay, now if you go on One Way's website, and they have little videos on there, and they say if you hold the tool like this, you're going to get an immediate catch. It's not designed to use that way. You want to hold it so that you're getting a shearing cut, and their description on there is, imagine having an eyeball in your belly button. You want to hold it so that you can see through the loop. But I'm going to deviate from that a little bit, but I'm still going to hold it so I'm getting a shearing cut off of the tip here. I want to hold it down there, so I can't cut anything up here and here, and I don't want to drop down here. That would be a scraping. If I tried to bring it around to get a peeling cut, that would be another catch in the weighting. But I want to maintain down here in the lower quadrant about 2-3 o'clock range, or no, 4 or 5 o'clock range down here on the bottom of that edge. Now with this one I can either go in like that with the lathe in reverse, or I can come around and go like this with the lathe here, and I'll show you both directions. And with this one, since it's set screws here, I've got to get the tool rest back far enough to where that set screw doesn't get in the way. Okay. We'll start out going this way. And I've heard people complain about this tool is that it continually plugs up, the fibers continually plug up in the hole. Well, if it's doing that, just try adjusting the angle a bit. If the fibers are coming off and hitting back here against the back part of the loop, they're going not having a place to go and they're going to get jammed up. So you want to hold it so the fibers go through the hole or actually slice off and fall down in front of the tool. Like that. That was not the right angle there. Well, no, there we go. Yeah, see, I'm coming off the front of the tool, and I cock it a little bit more, and now I'm trying to demonstrate it's not. A while ago it was coming straight out of the hole. There you go. It's going and coming out and going through the hole. And you can see that's a bevel rubbing cut, and it's extremely smooth. So we'll do the same thing in reverse, going the other direction. Like with your lathe at home, you can get on the other side, but I can come through here, and I can come like this. What's the vibration? Is there a witness? Oh, I've got some spirals on the cut a while ago. And that vibration is for some reason it's not working for me on that, going that direction. We'll do this for you. See, I'm probably pressing on the bevel too hard. That's one thing when you're using a skew. If you really are rubbing the bevel, you'll often get a washboard effect on the surface. And I think that's what was there. I was trying to push on the bevel too hard, and it was causing that little washboard effect. I wasn't having a problem coming back this way. Okay, so that's the termite tool. And here I got this one. This one is the surface coming off the termite tool. You can tell the surface is really quite respectable other than that crappy wood, crappy turning wood.
Dan, they ask how you sharpen that tool?
With it comes. I was going to bring that and I forgot. When you get it, it comes with a little round aluminum disc about that big around, about that thick, and it's got a hole with a set screw. And you take the bit out and you put it in that block. And then it's also got a white stone, papered stone that you put in the router. And you don't bring it up all the way into the cone. You only bring it up far and about halfway. And then you just take that block and just go around like that to sharpen around all around the whole thing. But I don't use that. I just use a diamond, a round diamond file. This is a trend diamond stone that you can get out here. And I just go around like that. Like I say, I'm only using that bit down there, so I don't need to sharpen the bit that I'm using. I don't need to sharpen back here, out there on the tip. I just go around like that just to touch it up periodically. Okay. And then one more. Use that same block of wood. This is a hook tool. I got this one from Michael Hoslak at the symposium in Atlanta last year. It basically does the same thing as the ring tool, but you don't have the small ring. You don't have the problem of fibers getting jammed up in the hook. Again, on this one, I've got to get the tool. I've got to get back here, so I'm resting the tool rest back here. That's enough squeaking. But you can see on there, see what the kind of shavings you get off of that? And it gives you probably as good, if not better, cut than what you're getting with the termite tool. And then here's the off of that hook tool. You can see the surface on that. Very, very, like, in fact, I don't see any tear out at all. Well, it might be a little bit right there, but very, very minimal tear out. And then, of course, this one's labeled MH Michael Hoslak hook tool from center to rim. So that's the different hollowing techniques for ingrain.